We are already through half of iRacing's versions of McLaren's World's Fastest Gamer, and now, after having two fantastic races at Suzuka and Circuit of the Americas, we land here in Italy, Monza, the world's fastest race course in Grand Prix racing, as we will take on the chicanes, the Lesmos, the fantastic atmosphere that only Monza can provide. That's on Racesport TV, that's on iRacing Live, and that is next.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight.
As Chris Fowler would say, welcome to Milan, welcome to Monza, and welcome to round 3 of World's Fastest Gamer here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live, a part of the qualifiers for the iRacing version of World's Fastest Gamer presented by McLaren. It's Will Vincent, Jake Sperry, just the two of us here tonight because, well, Paul's at some random racetrack, probably looking at McLaren's, Jake.
Probably, but I hope it is that he will be looking at McLaren's. It has been a very busy day, a very busy weekend actually here on Racesport TV. We have been very thin on the ground, but of course, when it comes to a race like this at Monza, you can't ask for anything better in terms of what we're going to see in quality. It's a historic circuit that has been around since 1950 and even before that, and you look at just how many classic races get churned up year upon year upon year. in any given condition actually at Monza, you know that you are in for a treat when you see the circuit on any calendar.
Track came into iRacing 2015, 11 turns. Fastest lap set by Martin Kroenke, 1:34.053, according to our stats anyway. But we also want to give a quick shout out to people that get it done. You see them up on your screen right now. But Jake, round number 3 right now. We'll talk in a moment's time about the championship protagonists. But for the moment, we've got to remember the fact this is Monza. This is a high-speed racetrack.
It is, and round 3 is typically known as moving day in the world of golf. It's where you jostle yourself and have a good showing. Those who don't have it fall by the wayside. Those who want to go and make something out of it get themselves to the top. And being a high force well, not a high downforce racetrack, but a low downforce racetrack, I should say, you look at the circuit and you think, well, do Redline really have that same sort of affinity with the low downforce circuits? I'd say no. So when it comes to the championship, there's going to be maybe a couple of changes coming out of this one.
Before we have a look at what the championship standings are heading into this event, here's a look at what happened 1 week ago. Green flag in the air, here we go, and again, a close start there by Team Redline. They didn't fix their issues from yesterday, and that means that Jamie Fluke and David Accord going side by side into one. David Accord with the race lead.
Is he able to stay behind? The answer is yes, he's about half a second behind, so he's well inside that DRS zone, but Jamie Fluke behind him as well as a further.
Oh, he's gone for the inside! And they make contact. They're side by side as they head themselves now down towards turn number 12. This might not be 1 wide, this might not be 2 wide, it is 3 wide. Look at that, all the way down to the inside goes Jamie Fluke. Is going to run over basically the curbs when the 2 tracks merge together, and it is going to be Frank Shawhorse in the lead of the motor race. But that was a very controversial move there.
It's very difficult. I think Shawhorse definitely had a lot of overspeed heading down in towards turn number 11. The contact came together, but it was very, very cheeky what he did to Jamie Fluke. I think that's the second thing that you need to look at that situation. All over that anti-cut curb, though, there was Frank Shawhorse, and he is trying everything just to hold any slither of memorandum of the race lead right now. Crosses the line, 5 laps to go, half a second between them and just a little bit more. I think Jamie Fluke, if he can just about keep it within 0.3 of a second, has a chance, and that's a major missed apex from Shawhorse. He is crumbling.
This is a fantastic run now for Jamie Fluke. He will have DRS wide open. He will have the ERS wide open. Is he closing off? He was 0.4 of a second, heading himself out of the corner, and you can see defensive line there by Frank Shawhorse. Fluke goes around the outside. Shawhorse, oh, they made contact for the second time here today, Paul. And Fluke goes to the race lead.
It's a little bit naughty. It's gloves off racing this. Shawhorse is almost around. We saw him have issues last time out at Suzuka. Well, Jamie Fluke, what a move.
Massive wiggle, though, out of 9 from Jamie Fluke allows Shawhorse another opportunity then on the brakes into the left-hander of turn number 11 out on circuit. And there's a big wiggle, and actually that's the position being given back there potentially by Jamie Fluke to try and get that better run going through. What a very weird situation from him, and in fact it was oversteer, torque oversteer out of the corner, my mistake. So issue for Jamie Fluke, position through Frank Shawhorse.
Through turn number 20 they come for the final time. Frank Shawhorse exits the corner, and Frank Shawhorse will win for Team Redline here at Circuit of the Americas. Welcome back then to our pre-race coverage here from Monza. And well, Jake, we were talking about off-air what happened at Circuit of the Americas 1 week ago, and again, the continuation of Redline. They are struggling at the start. we're going to talk about the technical situation here, because what I've heard from Dom Duhan, who is a technical principal for Team Redline, is the simple fact that they struggle on their starts because of the fact they use a foot clutch compared to a hand clutch. Discuss.
Well, it's always very interesting when you look at where you try and find your technological advances or not. I mean, that you talk about what happened with, say, SDK Gate was always looking at a technological advance and trying to find a way to narrow the gap, essentially, between certain teams and certain other teams. But a hand clutch compared to a foot clutch, well, you know, the foot clutch has its advantage that you are working with very much the same principles that you have in a car. The moment you turn to a hand clutch, you're actually using a different set of skills, and I think that's very difficult to learn. But if they feel that it's the right way with Redline, and of course working with Fanatec very closely to make sure that they get everything perfect and get themselves going, you know, if they think that it's going to be beneficial in the long run, then that's going to be something that's really useful. Something else that comes into mind is how that actually is used within a lap wheel, because if you're having to take your hand off that wheel and you're pretty much driving the circuit in a McLaren one-handed for the majority of the circuit, it just reminds you of Fernando Alonso in the F-Duct. And I remember very vividly in Spain where he went around the final corner and he had one hand on the wheel for the final corner. It causes more chance for incidents, so that's where I maybe wouldn't like it over a foot clutch.
And the thing is as well, is that a foot clutch, of course, the release rate is a certain speed, which is probably more than compared to a hand clutch. If we come to the finals, that will be an issue.
Exactly, because it might not necessarily be that you're running with a hand clutch. It might be that when you're going through all the testing situations, it's very clearly a foot clutch. So you have to readapt and realign. And I think that for a lot of drivers, if they have been taught in one way, yes, you never forget how to use a clutch, you never forget how to drive a car, but it will take you longer to work things out and get things right. And you have to do a override in your brain, essentially, to think, well, what is it that I have to do? Okay, I've got to use a clutch as well. I'm using 3 pedals. Okay, now what, sort of thing? So you look down and you think, now what? It's difficult for Redline, but they've already got 2 drivers in, so they've already got 2 drivers combating to try and find that situation. If Shothos becomes the 3rd, then I have to say he's in a better position if he was just a driver on his own trying to use a hand clutch.
Yeah, and I would say one of the other issues is that a foot clutch might hurt at the start of the race, but a race here is 25-30 minutes long, and that is not the defining factor here. We have got ourselves then the statistics heading into this event. There they are. He says, up on your screen, Frank Shawhorse, 789 points after 2 rounds compared to David Corp's 762. Malcolm Partington there in 653. Ilka Hapola has 572 points, and John Jonick there 496. They are your top 5, Jake. Thoughts about that? Because David Corp, Frank Shawhorse, very close up top, but there's a very big gap between David Corp and Malcolm Partington.
There is, and I think that some of that may come down to the fact that there's races every single day. Some decide to run more than others and take the average, but that's by the by. You look at Michael Partington, he is a driver who is a lot newer to the McLaren than both De Corps and Shothos very clearly are. And when you look at Michael Partington, what he's done, he's only turned up really well in the last year or so for Evolution Racing Team and said, actually, here I am, I want to announce myself. His plan is to qualify for the Road to Pro, what happens in probably a month's time or so. And the issue is that he isn't naturally invested in the same sort of battles that, say, De Corps is and also Shothos is when they're in that iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and that's the disadvantage that Partington has. But what it does say is that Michael Partington, even though he is in this early development, and yes, he has some work to do, he is showing that he is World Championship material, by the by.
But 3 of those 5 also have experience of Monza this year in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Frank Shawhorse, David Court, and also Ilka Hapola. So the question will be, will that advantage them, or will the neutral track state hinder them because of the fact that it's going to be so different from what they saw back in late April?
Well, I wonder how much Frank Shothos saw of the Monza race when he got crashed out at turn number 1 in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
He did the testing, didn't he?
Well, he did the testing, yes, so he's had that. But you have to remember, though, Will, they haven't been there since round 4 of the championship, which was back in, I believe, April or May. So it's a very long time ago in comparison to where we are on the 1st of October. So they've had effectively 5 months to not think about it, not race it. And that, if you haven't raced a circuit for 5 months, you might as well say, well, I haven't raced this circuit. It is effectively brand new to me again. And drivers, although they'll be quicker to pick back up at where they were, it's still going to take some time for those drivers. And I think that's why it's going to be an even playing field today.
The drivers are about 3 minutes away from heading towards the qualifying grid here. Qualifying and the race happens immediately after itself here on RaceSport TV. A part of McLaren's World's Fastest Game and the third part of qualifications. Jake, because you've not got ball, it's only on you. Who's your pick?
Jamie Fluke. I think it's 3 different winners in 3. I think Jamie Fluke is a driver who showed a lot of promise at Circuit of the Americas, in a circuit which had a slight favouring towards it. I think that Apex have worked on top speed. I see that Peter Berryman got the pole in the Irish World Championship Grand Prix Series. I think Apex have a very good set for this circuit, and I think that Jamie Fluke will use that to the best of his abilities.
Simone Marcena says ERT for the win. Do you not agree with that?
Well, he's an ERT driver, so I think there's a twinge of bias towards it.
But realistically, podium for them?
Podium, yes, I can see a podium for Michael Partington. It depends, though, on how up and down he's been, because he has been up there scrapping it out for the podium, but by the same point, he's been down in 10th position in some races, so it depends on which Michael Partington shows up today, if I'm honest, Will.
But, and the thing about this is, as well, this is not for pro license for the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. This is not about anything else but getting into World's Fastest Gamer and the finals. We've got Gregor Houtu, we've got Isaac Price, we've got Bunner House, we will have one other. Who do you think our one other is going to be, Jake?
I honestly think that it's going to be Davide Corpse. Nothing against Frank Schothorst. I think he's a fantastic driver. He has driving in his blood. Stein Schothorst is easily a very good GP3 driver, but you look at what Davide Corpse has done. Yes, he has flown under the radar a little bit, but De Corpse has been a driver who has embroiled himself within sim racing. He isn't afraid to go step into a Grand Prix Series race and race at other circuits against other drivers. And in fact, it's that sort of level where he's practicing more than everyone else. Not necessarily at the same circuit, but it's that willingness to involve yourself more and put more time into things that I think that Davide Corpse has used to his advantage. And I think that with the disadvantage that we're going to be seeing from Redline here today, I think he will just try and score enough points here so that he gets himself across that line at Interlagos, which is very clearly a Redline circuit.
That's your views then from the driver, the member of course, the RaceSport TV team of Jake Sperry. We will take a break for just 1 moment's time. When we come back, it's race time here. World's Fastest Gamer, round number 3 or 4 here from Monza.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Absolutely, and this circuit is very unforgiving. It is a little bit edited in the fact that you look at Parabolica with Freek Schotos running through it right now, and there is a little bit of runoff, but of course it is a very compact circuit when you get right down to the nitty-gritty. Any mistakes, they will be punished here. You have high curves that certainly do rattle the suspension. You've got to be careful about the way that you're dealing with the circuit at any given moment. And Schotos into the Variante di Rettifilo, turn number 1, just about gets the vehicle turned around in that section. And now to Curva Grande and the Della Roggia wheel. This is the first drive you need to look at. And just behind him, Davide Corps is following in tow. They certainly are. You have the ERS that you can deploy in maximum when you're doing a qualifying lap in comparison to, say, having to make sure that you recharge it every single lap for a race. That's always going to be something to keep an eye out on. And I mean, the Corpse, more importantly, bottomed his first lap, Will, so he'll have one more opportunity to get that lap. So it's a one-lap shootout for the Corpse. He has to get the next lap right, or he suffers the same fate as Ilkka Haapala did last time out. But Schotos to the line, he's going to make sure that he runs as close as he can. 122.3, there's the benchmark here for everyone to go through. Valette behind, 23.4. Jamie Fluke, though, keep an eye on him as he drives to the line. 22 flat, pole position, as I thought for the moment.
Yeah, indeed. So Ilkka Haapala then heading towards the line. Apologies there for the mic issues. Ilkka Haapala up into third place, Jake.
Yeah, up into third for Haapala. He needs a very good recovery, but argument is, has he already lost his opportunity at World's Fastest Gamer? I would assume, yes, he has. My goodness, I've just seen Zelensky have a big 180 coming out of the first Lesmo, and that is Bobby Zelensky still trying to adjust compared to a NASCAR.
Yeah, we've got Jan Vorderheide on pit road as we speak. Talk about Dutch drivers, so to say. And we had one, of course, just about a few hours ago, taking victory in terms of the FIA Formula 1 World Championship. That was Max Verstappen. It's a smaller grid here today, but we have got already some drivers who have qualified. Bobby Zelensky has not yet set a lap. Kazuki Umeshima working himself right now through the second of the chicanes into Lesbian number 1. This is Kazuki Umeshima. This is Racesport TV, fan immersion. On a warm-up lap then, quite clearly for Kazuki Umeshima, but still, he's got a long way to go because he is not qualified yet. 14 drivers have out of this field here today, and well, you do not want to start at the rear of this field with only 3 minutes left in qualifying right now, Jake.
You don't, but you have to say Monza gives one of the biggest opportunities to making overtakes. So if you do start from the back, you have a lot of DRS availability to use to make all those moves. And Davide Corp's the driver I need to have a look at here because he's rounding Parabolica in the number 6 machine. Needs to make a good drive to the line, needs that good lap, and he'll charge all the way to that line, which comes up quickly. 122.1, that's front row and in front of Shothorst. Exactly what was needed out of him.
That's exactly, again, but the thing is he won't have a lap to respond. So that's all he will get right now. Davide Corp is on track right now. Frank Shorehorse is not on track. Frank Shorehorse will not be able to do another lap in qualifications. Ilkka Happara will not do another lap in qualifications. Lorna might get another lap in.
He might do, but it's going to be very, very questionable if he does. When you cross the line and finish that lap, you technically start your second lap. So it might have to be a case of doing them back to back if your second lap certainly does work. He'll round Parabolica, hoping to get it good. 173 kilometers an hour before getting back onto the power and charging 270, 280, 290, 300 kph and going towards 350. No lap time set, but Umeshima we need to keep an eye out on. He's rounding Parabolica now. Here, Will.
Umeshima will come past the start-finish line. What will he do? The answer is going to be a good lap there. 5th place for him.
Yeah, 5th place for Umeshima. It's solid, but Umeshima is typically a very solid driver when it comes right down to it, and the lap times that he consistently sets. The one driver who hasn't set a lap time, Bobby Zelensky, the number 7 machine, hailing himself out of Club California into the right of Parabolica, looking to set up a very good run. He uses all of his road tax and a little bit more as he comes out straight through, and a typically wider line actually coming out of that exit, and no lap time again. So Zelensky is starting dead last.
For Coanda Sim Sports as well. Not Coanda Sim Sports, sorry. He's got VRS backing. He's not Coanda Sim Sports. I'll take that one back. Clip angle. That's what I was looking for there. Right there. But Jamie Fluke then, pole position. That's huge.
It is, and for a driver who didn't score many points in the early stages of what was the racing that happened at what was round number 1, Will, you have to say, because of Sim Expo, Fluke was always going to be on that back foot, but he's proving his worth right now, getting himself onto the front of the grid, pole position, and I hope that he does a very good job of things, because pole position here is the best place you want to be. If you're stuck down in position number 13, let's say like Jake Hewlett or VRS Coanda Sim Sport, he's got the big checkup at turns numbers 1 and 2, the Variante del Rettifilio. That's a nightmare for him, and it will mean that he will lose so much time because of it.
Yeah, and there's your starting grid then coming up for you on your screen. Jamie Fluke has pole position. David Court alongside him, 4/100ths of a second back. Frank Shorehorse in 3rd, and Ilkka Happara rounds out your top 4. And Jake, as we head on back, Umeshima in 5th, Jean Jornik there in 6th place. But the rest of the grid, they also look very, very close.
They certainly do. If you look back, all those splitting by a second is 9 positions. Jan van der Heide, who has been the master of being silent about scoring his points, he's there in 9th. You look further back, actually, you talk about being everyone within, what, 3 seconds with Diego Jimenez there in 18th. Pretty good timing then between all of them. You normally see a little bit more separation when you have so many different classes and licenses coming into this one, but it always proves to be a good race. 20 laps today. It's a short one, and it will go like a blink of the eye.
Yeah, there's the track conditions for you then. 11 turns. Debuted on iRacing in 2015. It's 3.5 miles in length. Lap record set by Martin Kroenke. These are the guys that get it done here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. But now we want to head ourselves through to the start then of your grid, because we've got yourselves drivers already lined up on that starting grid as we speak. They are almost ready to go racing. Round number 3 of McLaren's world's fastest gamer. Where is pole position guy Jamie Fluke? There he is. Now we're ready to go racing for 20 laps. Engine revs will rise. We are green here at Monza. Fantastic start there by the 07 machine as they head themselves to turn number 1. What's the story, Jake?
Jonjic around, and it's a big incident at turn numbers 1 and 2. The Variante di Rettifilia, he tried to go through. There was contact behind, actually, involving Michael Partington, of all people, turning Jan van der Heide around, and there was always going to be a bit of contact. Jonjic was up on 2 wheels at one stage. Well,
there's a replay then through turn number 1. 3 wide. Hagdon Court Motorsports. You've also got yourself, a rain team around as well. As Jan van der Heide there had himself an issue down turn number 1, lap number 1 of this racetrack. But out front, David DeCour leads. He leads by about 2.5 tenths of a second over Jamie Fluke right now. He now is your race leader as we'll complete lap number 1.
And it was a perfect start for David DeCour as well. He'll be very happy about that. No DRS on the opening 2 laps. So Shothor's look into Parabolica didn't materialise just then. But this is what we're seeing. Dirty air effect. It was a great run out of the corner for DeCour. Not so much for JP Fluke, but will he be able to manage to close that gap down even without having DRS to work with? He's trying everything that's possible to close it back to DeCour. A look at the Rettifilio. Nope, doesn't happen. But look at how it bunches back up. Look how much later Shothor is able to use those brakes and bring himself back into play.
Yeah, the trees are a big part of this racetrack. We go on board then with the driver of David DeCour for the moment's time. He continues to lead this motor race, lap number 2 then of 20 here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. You can, of course, find live timing and scoring by visiting racesport.tv/timing out of the course of this event. But behind that battle going on, you've got yourself Josh Thompson right now. He's been in a battle with the driver of Maurice Luna, as I believe I can see. We go on board from the rear, Maurice Luna, and Luna now up to P number 7.
Yeah, Maurice Luna then is getting himself +1 then in 6th position, actually. Oh, well, yes, 7th position overall. So he's had a mistake on this lap as Maurice Lona, because he's lost a lot of time in comparison to Michael Partington. As such, Josh Thompson able to get onto the rear, as will Matteo Calistani of the Positive Sim Racing team. And this is something that we do expect, battles lower down for more important points as well than just simply what we normally see at the front. Every point counts. And for someone like Josh Thompson, who is in a learning stage, he reminds me of Sebastian Jobe about 3 years ago, trying to make something happen. But look at how Shothos is closing down on Jamie Fluke. He looks down to the inside at turn numbers 1 and 2, the Variante di Rettifilio. Nope, not going to happen there. So there was a warning shot from Shothos.
1 or 2, because he will have another opportunity out of Curva Grande. Through Curva Grande, he has an opportunity to go back on board of him. Can he move himself to the left-hand side of the racetrack? Yes, he can. And he will pass him down into that second of the 3 chicanes on track. And actually, one of the things, Shake, is that everyone focuses on chicane number 1, chicane number 3, but many people forget that second chicane, and they're all bunched up right now, side by side. We've got ourselves Frank Shawhorse right now embroiled in the battle with Ilka Hapala as they now head themselves down to the Variante Ascari.
And our Hapala could act as the sacrificial lamb if he wanted to help Dekorps get away. All that battling at the second chicane, the big missed apex from Shothos going too deep in on the brakes has allowed Dekorps to break DRS, and that is so crucial here. With 1 second, you open that flap, you get yourself that extra speed boost down these long straights. Now Shothos will have to work on his hot lapping to get back to Dekorps, but Dekorps is gone now, so it's Shothos versus Fluke for position number 2 in damage limitation. Look at Kazuki Gun though. Kazuki Umashima tucked right underneath with Ilka Hapala just in front, and he goes to the inside of all places, makes it work. Thank you very much. Radical's online driver through. Hapala under pressure as well now behind from Partington.
And also the Evolution Racing Team car there as well. Partington was so close there, down at the third chicane. Now the run will come down through to chicane number 2. Will Partington have anything that he can do? He's close, but not quite close enough to make the move, or will he? He moves down to the inside, down into the second chicane. Not able to do anything there, so he will remain. Partington there in the 6th position, as we've had a wild first few laps here at Monza. You talk about, Jake, this is the fastest race of this 4-race season, and these guys have kind of got it into their head that they need to get it done.
Exactly, it's only 20 laps, and of course it's got the highest average top speed of all circuits, so you're always going to be having very high adrenaline levels as you go through, and that may mean that drivers go for moves that don't necessarily work out in favour of what other vehicles certainly do. Still got other battles like Matteo Ugolotti against Josh Thompson. Thompson in fact dropping backwards now as Ugolotti has made his way through, as has Matteo Calistani, so there's been a mistake somewhere with Josh Thompson out on circuit. But yet again, you have to look at what's going on between Hapala and Partington, because there will be tow for Ilka Hapala, but Partington's going to get a double tow, so he's going to be able to charge at 350 kilometers an hour, one of the highest top speeds as he gets onto the brakes in towards turn number 1. And you know what? Inside line, not decisive, and they just about make it work there, Will. My goodness, but side by side, it will stay.
Yeah, they will stay as we have a better look then through the trees, and that's the only issue with Monza. There's so many trees around here, it's hard to see what's going on at times, but still side by side into the second chicane. Who's going to get it? It's going to be Partington moving himself up into the 5th position. Let's get a replay of that one, because Jake, that was amazing.
It was brilliant, and that is how you do it. You talk about what happened maybe this year between Fernando Alonso and Jolyon Palmer, and the instant that was done there. That was how you do it, going too wide into that corner, because you looked at Partington, he gave enough room there on the inside for Hapala to have a line, but by the same point made that second apex and hung Hapala out to dry, who lost all of the DRS, now 1 and a little bit seconds behind. And look at Partington actually on this lap. He is fighting for his world's fastest gamer seat right now, because he's got Umashima in front, and this is for position number 4 now, Will.
Yeah, and you've got to consider that, because it is essentially what it takes all in this competition as well. David Decor leads this race right now over Fake Shawhorse, but that might not be enough in terms of the points gap, and we don't know. That's the thing, the points gap between these shows, because of the strength of field in this event here, Jake.
Yeah, certainly it is always going to be very strong, and nobody quite knows the algorithm to how many points are scored, but it's a lot when you get onto iRacing official point standards. But that was a good move actually on that last lap from Frake Shothos to get through at turn number 1 on Jamie Fluke. Fluke didn't see it coming from a long way back, and I thought it would be a lot more difficult actually for let's get some words out, Shothos to make that move. I thought it would be a lot more difficult, but it wasn't in the end. Jamie Fluke, it was easy for Jamie Fluke. He didn't defend into turn number 1 like I expected him to, and as such the gap remains 2.4 seconds, but it's only 2.4 seconds. It was a 23.8 last time by for Shothos, who had to make a move on that lap as well.
A bit like Hamilton earlier on today as he tried to defend from the driver of Max Verstappen. I know it's not McLaren, but let's talk about it, because of the fact that Jamie Fluke realises the defensive opportunities he's currently scored at 7 tenths of a second back. Let's see what his manoeuvre will be as he heads through the curve of Parabolica. Not good. He's got a good run, but it's not good enough anywhere near to get time.
No, and he'll get some toe, that's going to be beneficial, but it's only a passing moment at 0.7 of a second. You basically keep the status quo, and well, Jamie Fluke, you can definitely see that, only 336 kilometers an hour overall. That is not going to be anywhere near almost the 360 Ks that we saw from Michael Partington, tucked in right underneath, trying to get past the likes of Ilkka Haapala. So there is a lot of difference in that. Maybe a setup thing that Jamie Fluke's trying to make sure that because he had the pole position, maybe he wanted to break out in a way. It's a completely different ball game though when overtakes come into effect.
It will do indeed. Already 7 laps into this 20-lap event. There's the drivers storming on the way down into the second chicane. And actually, out of the 3 chicanes, we talked about that already. The second chicane may well be the most difficult, but there's your leader, David Court, on the gap between himself and the rest of your field is currently scored as 2.2 seconds. And well, after a disappointment, I would say, at Kota a week ago, David Court back in the driving seat.
Yeah, he certainly is. I thought it was damage limitation at Circuit of the Americas for him because he did get the lead. He was involved in that little scrap with Showthorse heading down into turn number 11, but you have to say, David Court, he is bouncing back, and I think he does have that good resiliency, and he is one of those products that you see happening in French sim racing that doesn't necessarily get reported and doesn't get enough credit for what they do. French sim racing, you argue right now, Will, is in the strongest position that it has ever been. You've got the likes of De Corps, you've got the likes of Antoine Higeland, you've got the likes of, say, Jeremy Bootsloot, Morgan Moran. You name them, French sim racing is going through. And that goes back to the Petit Le Mans that we had as well. Real championship racing, and all French team gets P2 in prototypes.
And the thing about the French sim racing team is that they are set to be, I would say, top 8 in the world right now. They are not going to compete necessarily every single race against the likes of Finland, Club Diach, the likes of Club UK and Ireland, for example. But they are right up on there as we ride on board right now with Ilkka Haapala. They are the defending, reigning world champions in terms of the iRacing World Cup of iRacing. But the thing is, I don't think that that team is as strong as it's going to be. And actually, Ilkka Haapala is out on his own right now.
Yeah, he certainly is, but I think you've forgotten the undisputed part there of your mantra that you were trying to go there. But yes, Haapala on his own in that.
I'm going to stop you there. Neither Diach or Finland are undisputed at this stage.
Well, Finland in the World Cup of iRacing has won, what, the last 3, the last 4 World Cups?
Let's not forget Diach.
Diach has been very good, and Martin Kroenke has certainly elevated his game, but the point is, when you look at it, it's always a finite balance.
I'll tell you what, guys, you take the heat for that one, Jake. We'll talk about the race, because it's going to be that crazy over the course of the next 11 laps. Ilkka Haapala versus Michael Partington right now, as they head themselves through this first of the 3 chicanes, of course. The famous 3 chicanes that take place here at Monza. The first of those, actually, Jake, was I'm trying to find a word here. It was reprofiled, that's one, down in 2000. The thing is, that chicane made a lot of difference, but a lot of people don't recognize that in 2000 because of the fact that we lost the life of a marshal down on the second chicane in 2000.
Exactly, and well, that is going to be something just to keep an eye out on in this event. So the fact that chicane has been remodeled and the circuit has been, you know, reshaped to fit with the times, you know, there is a lot of history that goes along with this, that even goes to the point of the oval banking that goes around the circuit. Yes, there is a lot of history here, and that is reflected in the style of racing, how it is very much, you get on the power, you hit the brakes, you get on the power, you hit the brakes. It's very much more suited to the 1960s style of racing, where it was all about how much grunt you could get in the vehicle and not necessarily understanding about downforce. Now you put downforce in, it becomes a completely different challenge, and that's what we see. I've been keeping an eye out though on this battle going on. Josh Thompson is having the worst race I think I've ever seen him have, because he's dropped 2 more positions on this lap, one to Bobby Zelensky, one to Mikael Lamoureux of MXS Racing, and look at that, he's now back down into what, position number 12, and he was up there fighting in about 7th position about 5 laps ago.
He really is struggling actually right now. We'll go on board of him, and again he can't make a move down into turn number 1. Let's have a look at your movers and shakers in this event so far, because of the fact that we know that drivers like Thompson have struggled, and there's your top 15 up on the screen. And Thompson, well, he's down 1 position. There are people who are down more than him But because they're starting positions here at Monza, we expect some people to charge away through the field here, Jake.
Yes, there is a lot of opportunity, and Bobby Zelensky up 9 from the back of the grid has done a very good job. Ugolotti +7 on his own accord, and you got Calistani +2. They are showing that you can make overtakes here at Monza in comparison to other circuits. I want to focus though on Frank Schothos because he's pulling in a 10th at a time, and he's got 10 laps to go when he crosses the start-finish line here to make something happen. But the way that he's been working, he was about 2.5 seconds back. He's brought that down to 1.7. I want to check the gap when he crosses the line this time. It's gone up actually, it's 1.8 seconds, but if he breaks into 1 second, if he psychologically hurts Davide De Corps in that sense, De Corps now has to worry. I saw a race between De Corps and I believe it was one of the positive sim race drivers, Roscoe. That's a slowdown, I think, from Schothos there at 1.
Yeah, and he lost a 10th of a second on lap number 10. He's going to lose about half a second on lap number 11 there. Great Schothos, and that's going to be the issue for him then, because he will now lose anything that he's gained. No DRS, and again another 5 laps of charging through to try and get through to your race leader, who is Davide De Corps right now. Davide De Corps is your race leader. He is now by 3.3 seconds. That is huge.
It's staggering, and that's the one mistake that Schothos didn't need to make. And that's the thing that we've been saying about Frank Schothos. Yes, he's the quickest driver in this grid, but it doesn't mean anything if you're the quickest if you start making mistakes and drop back 3 seconds. He's brought Jamie Fluke back into DRS range, and the Apex Racing UK driver now may have an opportunity to close, but the dirty air effect again at Ascari coming into play, dropping another 0.2 of a second there is Jamie Fluke, and that's the struggles that you're going to have here. Yes, while it is very much top speed, do need a little bit of aero there, and that's why sometimes you see teams and drivers going to a medium downforce package rather than a low downforce package.
The question for Jamie Fluke is though, did he expect the fact that Frank Schothos to make an incident and then put him back into DRS range, because he is closing hard but not close enough down into turn number 1.
Well, no, he was saving ERS. He knew he was never going to be close enough into turn number 1, the Variante del Rettifilio. So for Jamie Fluke, no, you can never predict a driver making an incident. You always go out there and race, hoping that your own pace will bring you back into play. But if it doesn't happen, well, so be it. On the brakes, Variante della Roggia, the most difficult of the chicanes, as we have said on multiple occasions. Jamie Fluke, well, all he can do now is hope to get past and score some major points. The win starting to fall out of reach now with 8 laps to go or so when they cross the line. It's now about how Jamie Fluke responds, and at that second Lesmo there, running a little bit wide, and that's going to cost him a bit of time.
So we're down to less than half race distance here, but your leader is the driver of Davide De Corps. There are your top 8 on your screen right now. De Corps leads by Frank Schothos over 3 seconds. Jamie Fluke in 3rd place, Kazuki Umeshima 4th, Parkington in 4th place, Ilka Hapala in 6th, Luna in 7th, and Matteo rounds out your top 8. But Jake, take it away for a couple of laps, because Schothos versus Fluke is not over yet.
No, it isn't, and for Frank Schothos, it's about run for the hills and hope you break away. He closes the gap to the Corps, so that won't matter. It's now 0.7 of a second again, and Jamie Fluke 24.7 against the 24.5 of Frank Schothos. There's not much you can argue, except for the fact that Frank Schothos is trying everything to hope that the tyres stay in play. 38 degrees track temperature. It's another hot one here at World's Fastest Gamer, and it might just be the case of keep the vehicle on the island for a lot of drivers, because at the end of the day, when it's such a quick circuit and when you're dealing with low levels of what is going to be downforce, there's not much more you can say about it. Wiggle though from Schothos through the Della Roggia and into the 2 right-handers here, Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. And Jamie Fluke looking a little bit more poised through these sorts of sections, but when it comes down to it and getting onto that power, he just isn't able to get himself into that situation. It's about getting yourself slow in, fast out, and that's what a lot of drivers certainly do understand to fail. They've gone through a DRS section here on the run to Ascari. You can sometimes make that move, but again, you look at Jamie Fluke, he's having to take a slightly wider line because of that dirty air effect being produced by Frank Schothos, and
yeah, there was a car turn almost spun behind him. That's a radical line. I believe that Kazuki Umeshima replay coming up here now. I think Kazuki Umeshima lost it there on the exit of the Variante Ascari. Replay's coming up there from the exit of Lesmo number 2 right now. But that Radicals Online team, we've seen that before in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series check. They are good, but they make little mistakes because of the balancing of that race car. It's on edge, and for here, Suzuka International clips a curve, clips another curve, loses it.
My goodness. Almost, and any inexperienced driver there finds the wall, and that's just a simple matter of fact. I wouldn't have been able to save that, and I know about half the drivers on the iRacing service certainly wouldn't be able to do so as well. But Umeshima now brings back Partington, and look at Ilkka Harpala coming back into this one right now, because Harpala out of nowhere suddenly back onto the rear of Partington, fighting for the seats, and both of them, you know, you sort of see the level that Partington's fighting with Ilkka Harpala right now. This is good stead for Michael Partington in his future, and he wants to get past Umeshima as well. Top 10 standing right now for Umeshima in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
It is worth saying that this has no bearing at all on the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. It matters for one thing only, and you look at the front of the field, David Cour versus Frank Shorehorse. David Cour will get the advantage in this race, but we're going to head ourselves, as it stands, down to a showdown in 1 week's time at the fantastic place of Sao Paulo and the Autodromo Interlagos. I'm going to say that right eventually, but we're at a situation right now where this will go down to the final round.
It certainly will.
Oh, so aside.
And more than that, Shothorst will give the position away. I believe that's another issue that he's had at turn number 1, being too aggressive on the curbs again there, Will. At the first part of the Variante del Rettifilio, and Shothorst loses the position. We did have side-by-side as well between Partington and Harpala. I do believe it was in towards that turn number 1 section. It was an attempt by Harpala. It didn't quite happen.
Well, this makes the issue bigger now for Sao Paulo, because of the fact that Shorehorse is down into 3rd place, because of the fact that Shorehorse has lost that second position. I would say the championship really is now wide open. We'll find out after the end of this event, after we go off air, but I would say that that moment from, say, Shorehorse, he hasn't made a mistake really at the start here today, but he has made a mistake down in the middle of the event.
Exactly, and maybe those gremlins have gone away from Frank Shothorst, but by practicing so much on getting those starts right, maybe he's neglected that different part of the game. Although he hasn't lost too much time in comparison, he may still have this opportunity to get back past Jamie Fluke, but check the laps here, Will. It's 5 to go here at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, and now Frank Shothorst senses a little bit of urgency, closes that gap right back down again to just a couple of tenths of a second as they head through the Variante del Rettifilio, and again, he's just hoping to get some form of opportunity between now and the end of this event.
But he couldn't.
Oh my goodness, there's a car around, that's Harpala.
Ilkka Harpala, that's going to be big in terms of the overall championship, but Ilkka Harpala has spun down at the first chicane here today. Replay coming up for you right now.
And it's 2 bits of contact, Will, between himself and Partington. A contact on the rear, unsettling Harpala as he was getting out of the Variante del Rettifilio. A second contact the other side turns him around, and Harpala now behind the Volkswagen Motorsports machine, or was behind the Volkswagen Motorsports machine, I believe, of Moritz Lohner. Lohner now actually still behind, but the gap about 0.6 of a second between them. That one position means so much for Ilkka Harpala, and that basically means championship over.
Yeah, that's a replay then. And also it's championship over for Partington as well. He was 3rd place in the championship heading into this event, Jake.
It was, but he gains the position against Ilkka Harpala. He stops that.
Not enough, though, because
he had against. No, it certainly isn't, especially with Umeshima in front, but keep an eye on Shothorst again. The gap a lot closer than it was last time. Gap down to 0.4 of a second. He may have a late lunge here down towards turn number 1. Look at the pace Frank Shothorst has underneath that McLaren, and thank you down to the inside. He makes sure he redeems himself for the 2 issues he'd had earlier on today. Now, I don't think he'll catch the course, but that was very good driving.
And again, that opens the championship up for the final round. The championship more in favour of Frank Shorehorse, but it's not over yet for the driver of Jamie Fluke, because he wants to come back at this one, and he wants to go and get that second position back.
He certainly does. And look at Shothos out of the Della Roggia. He was fighting that vehicle all the way to keep control of it. He is starting to have a little bit of a struggle now on those tyres. Those rears are starting to fall away a little bit. And now Jamie Fluke understands that and just needs to stay within about 3 to 4 tenths of a second as they head through the Variante Ascari, in through the left, the right, and now the left. And it's better there from Jamie Fluke than it has been for a very long time, Will. And I'm very happy to see that out of him getting his opportunity, because all this race he has struggled through Ascari.
Is Jamie Fluke there and the Apex Racing UK machine versus Great Shawhorse. We come down then to 3 laps to go here at Circuit Monza, but out front, David Acor has got himself a huge lead right now of 3.2 seconds over Freight Shawhorse, and that is, again, we talk about Orion Race Team. Orion Race Team versus the Evolution Racing Team versus the likes of Apex Racing UK versus the likes of Team Redline. It's a 4-horse race for the overall championship, but the thing is, in terms of the people who are looking from up above, only one driver will matter, and that's the driver who wins the overall championship. And again, the balance tips now down to David Acor and the Orion Race Team, especially as we know how good Orion Race Team are at the final round of the season, and that, of course, is Interlagos.
And Interlagos, they normally produce their best results. It will be great to see, but take no credit away from Redline's Frank Shothos. He's done well to actually come back into this event, even with the issues he's had. And this is what we keep on saying, Will, when it's not an A-class drive from Frank Shothos, when it's looking more like a B-class drive from him, he's still producing the results. And I know Frank Shothos on his day can win races and can get up there and fight it with the very best, the likes of Kroenke and House, but it's not really being shown here today from him, but he's still up in second position. That's the big credit you have to take away from this in terms of the effort he's putting in.
The issue is, though, Freight Shawhorse has closed in the last 2-3 laps here, but it's not quite close enough. Jamie Fluke has a run as they come down into turn number 1 with that DRS and the ERS open, but not able to do anything. Lap number 19 then of 20, Kazuki Umeshima runs in 4th, and Umeshima, he is now out of the championship, but that's a shame because Umeshima has been so strong in everything he's done in Grand Prix competition.
He has, and he's one of those drivers who will be reflecting on what happened at Montreal for him about 3 years ago when he hit the wall of champions, and he thought, was that my opportunity? Another one will come along. Nothing has come back since for Kazuki Umeshima, so he'll hope that there is more opportunities on the horizon. He is always a very accomplished driver, and arguably he will be the figurehead of the Asian market when sim racing makes it big there. But right now, it's about Fluke and Shothos for positions 2 and 3, the last steps on the podium. Remember, if any one of those 2 drivers run into an issue, find a crash, that's their own championships over. They've got to be so careful about when they make those moves. And look at how Fluke is struggling to keep up with Frank Shothos, who is actually found a setup, I argue here, Will, that has equalised the real differences that you normally see from Team Redline.
But the issue is, for the driver Jamie Fluke, he struggled through the 3rd sector. He is still okay if he heads the white flag up here today, but the issue has been is that Fluke has not been able to be an attacker. He's been a defender here today. Through the first chicane they come for the final time, nothing going to happen there. But as they exit that first chicane, head themselves down to chicane number 2, they are going to be close. They are going to be close here. That's the thing, Jake. But not quite close enough for Fluke to make a pass.
Close, but not quite close enough. Not into that second chicane, and now it's going to have to rely on DRS up towards the Variante Ascari, and you don't often see moves there. It now relies on a mistake out of this right-hander against Frank Shothos, and does he get it out of Lesmo too? Little wiggle, but it's all fine. I think he's safe.
Unless we see anything in the final couple of corners, though, it's time to turn over to David Acor. He won the first round of this championship. He will win the 3rd round unless he makes a huge mistake down at the curve of Parabolica. Behind, you see Freight Shawhorse versus Jamie Fluke. They are battling for 2nd place, but as they come through the curve of Parabolica for the final time, Fluke nowhere near close enough back. It'll be a case of the David Acor show wins here at Monza. David Core, Orion Race Team will win. It'll be Shawhorse in second. Third place will go down to the driver of Jamie Fluke and Suzuka International in fourth position. A little bit of a way back will be the driver of Michael Partington there. He rounds out your top 5 with a bit of damage as well, but he does round out your top 5. Ilka Happana is in 6th place. And then you've got Moritz Luna there in P number 7. They are your top 7 here today, Jake. And well, David Core wins, but that's not the entire story. But David Core does now make this championship battle interesting.
He does. His second win in World's Fastest Gamer is always going to be something to keep an eye on. Battle though to the line between Jan van der Heijden and David Pacelli. That one's not going to change, unfortunately, for Jan van der Heijden. Shame there, but yes, the championship now does take an interesting turn because Showthorst, yes, he has done very well. He has stayed the most consistent with a win and 2 second places, but take nothing away from 2 wins and a third from David de Korps. Both of them have been the yin to the yang of everyone else, and right now it's a case of de Korps wanting it and Showthorst needing it.
Let's look then at your final race results. David de Korps wins by 2.7 seconds over Frank Shawhorse, Jamie Fluke in third, Kazuki Mishima in fourth, and Michael Partington then rounding out your top 5 here today. P number 6 is Ilka Happana, P number 7 Maurice Luna, P number 7 Maurizio Ugaletti there, and P number 9 is Michael Lamarouk, and P10 is Zoran Jonic then. As we head back and have a look at the rest of the results, it's worth noting we've had a bit of a higher attrition rate here today. 3 drivers didn't finish their race. Josh Thompson, Matteo Constini, and Jake Cluder didn't finish the protege for the team of VOS Kleiner Simsport. But also, 2 drivers finished outside of that 1 minute window. They're Diego Amara and also Alexandre Valente here today, Jake.
Yeah, Diego Jimenez and Alexandre Vallette outside of 1 minute over 20 laps. Not often you hear that, but that's the sort of margins you have to improve by. A minute over 20 laps. That's about 2 seconds a lap, you would probably argue, to feel in this situation. So drivers at the bottom, this is a big learning curve for them. This is them understanding, okay, that's what the top of the mountain looks like. That's how much time I have to work with during these races. And I think that for those who are using this as maybe a platform, because this is open to rookies all the way up to the very top at Pro WC license, this is a big learning curve because normally you need an A license to drive these vehicles. Some people will drive this to say, what would it be like to be an iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series driver? What would it be like to be at the top of sim racing? And some of them understand that, yes, we need to improve, but this is great as a tournament, not just for the fact that you fight for that seat in McLaren, but it's great for the entirety of the sim racing community because they understand the level that they need to be at to get to the top.
And next week we conclude it at Interlagos. And Interlagos, for me, is going to be a massive, massive race, especially after the fact that David de Korps is now a 2-time winner in this series.
Exactly, and Interlagos as a circuit always produces the classic in the final round of the championship. That's why if I ever did a series, I wouldn't have any argument on what the final race is. I'd say the final race would always be the circuit of Interlagos, and I'd always say round 4 is Imola, because why wouldn't it be?
Is that Glock?
I think it may be Glock in that situation. That's always the moment that everyone turns to it at Brazil, but we're not going to have any sort of situation, I wouldn't think, where people will run out of fuel. That's by the by, but I think we'll see some very good battling there, and I think it is a showdown between de Korps and Showthorst. It is Redline versus Orion. It is Club France against Club Benelux.
Who's going to win, do you think, Jake? Because we've got David de Korps on one hand, who is fantastic, and again, has reinvigorated that Orion race team. We expect Ilka Happana to be the person who does that, but it's David de Korps right now who has done so. But on the other hand, you've got the mighty machine of Team Redline. Can Team Redline pull it off when we head ourselves over to Brazil?
It depends on what Frank Showthorst wants. It depends on how his schedule plays up, because you also have to think that I believe it's in a week's time where we have the finale of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Yes.
That's going to be taking away from Frank Showthorst and David de Korps respectively, but for de Korps, he's already safe in this series. So is Shothor. So the question is, it depends on who turns up actually for that race. If either one of those drivers decide, no, I'm not going to race, then you know that both of their priorities lie on this world's fastest gamer seat. And it comes down to a fact of Davide Corps has stepped up his game, and Frank Shothor has had to sort of adapt to that a little bit. I think Shothor will find another level. Yes, I think Shothor will win the race, but I think De Corps will take the title with a second place finish.
So that's what you've got to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen, in just 1 week's time here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. It will be the final part of iRacing's version of McLaren's World's Fastest Gamer. It will be in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It will be a fantastic race between Orion Race Team and Team Redline. On one hand, you got Davide Corps and the team who's looking to get themselves back into relevance in terms of sim racing. On the other hand, you got yourself Team Redline, who's looking to punch another driver into the finals. What will happen? You'll find out in 1 week's time. That guy's been Jake Sperry. I've been Will Vincent, and we will talk to you all in 1 week's time.